Hi everyone, and welcome to the pre-race announcements for Stubborn Mule 2021. My name is Paula Waite, and I'm the race director and course designer for Stubborn Mule. A huge welcome to all of our old adventure racing friends and the many new friends that we'll be meeting for the first time on Saturday. For those racing their first race, you have chosen very well. Saturday is going to be amazing, and you're going to get to race among some of the top teams in the US. We have a great field of racers out there. I'd like to start with a few thank yous. First and foremost to the volunteer crew. We have 15 folks giving up their weekends and traveling from throughout Wisconsin. I think we only have 4 of us that are actually kind of from the local area. So folks coming up from Wisconsin and Illinois to be here for all of you. Please be sure to thank them when you see them. I'd also like to share a special thanks to Mount Ashwaubenon. Doug and Holly have done a lot to help us make this happen. They've negotiated a lot with Big Top Chautauqua for us, and I'm thankful for that. And to Lynn and Brian with Trek and Trail, who have put in huge efforts around the paddle portion of the event. And then finally to all the folks that we've worked with the town, the county, the state, National Forest Service. In some cases, really quick turnaround on the permits, and we appreciate everything that you've done throughout this last year helping us get ready for this. Next, I want to answer a few questions that have come in. One is about the scale of the map. Yes, it is really 1 to 20,000. And the plotters, while they aren't super common, are available, but of this listening, I'm assuming that you've already solved this problem, but I just want to let you know that there is information in the FAQ about how to make your own plotter if you need to. I think a lot of the different adventure racing forums just came up this week as well. And the reason behind the 1 to 20,000 was to give you a little bit better view of the course. It's still based on a 1 to 24,000 map, so you're not getting more detail, but it's a little bit easier to see. And the reason for plotting is if we need to make any changes to the course at the last minute, it's much easier to do that by just giving you the UTMs. So you won't be plotting very many points, at least as of now or as of this recording. If we find some things that need to change, or if there's alterations to the course due to weather or canceling the paddle or something like that, then there may be more to plot. So that is that information again in the FAQs on the website, more details about the plotters. Several of you have asked if you can camp at HQ the night before the race. That is a huge no. HQ is on private property. It is also embargoed, and we are not allowed to be on site until Saturday morning. So I just want to emphasize again that Big Top Chautauqua and Mount Ashwaubenon were nervous about having this event in the first place. So we want to make sure we're not doing anything to kind of jeopardize that. They don't usually have anything else going on when they have performances, and they're trying this. So if things don't go well, won't be good for not only our organization and adventure racing, but also for future events. So please don't jeopardize that. Need to be very, very careful that we don't disturb that event and ruin the possibility of doing something like this again. So alternatives for camping are probably what you're really wanting to hear about. The National Forest Service, National Forest is not too far away, and you can disperse camp in the forest, so that's a great option. There are campgrounds in the area. They don't take reservations, so I know that makes folks nervous if you don't know for sure that you're going to have a spot, but dispersed camping might be a good solution to that. All right, on to everybody's favorite, the race rules. Please be sure to carefully read the race rules, even if you've raced every single one of our races. The rules have changed since you've seen them last. Not unless, if you looked at them online, then you're looking at the current rules. But if you're like, oh, I read them in April, the rules are different. So make sure that you read them for this particular race. Some items in the rules that I want to emphasize. First, especially for those of you new to adventure racing, the race course is not closed to the public. So we do not have sole use of the trails, the roads, the water, any of the lands. You will see the public out there. It's a busy tourist time here, so you can expect that there's going to be traffic on the roadways. Be sure that you are riding single file, especially on the paved roads. On the gravel roads, there's traffic there too. You're going to find a lot of ATV traffic out there, so be aware of that, be heads up. And on the trails, it'll be busy on the ski trails and the bike trails, so keep a heads up there too. Last word about the roadways, please obey all traffic laws. I know it's really easy when you're coming down a hill and you just want to kind of swoop through that stop sign. Please don't do that. It's not safe. And we also don't want to get complaints from the public that, hey, all these bikers were just flying around corners and not stopping. So please be careful about that. Next thing, as a team sport, it's expected that you will work together as a team. This means staying within 10 meters when on foot, and on the bike and the paddle, that distance is 30 meters. So when you're on foot, 10 meters is only about 20 paces. It is not very far at all. So what that means is partway through the race, you have a CP at the top of a hill, you want to send a runner up to get it. No, the whole team needs to go and you need to stay within 10 meters of each other. So I ask all of you to remind each other of the rule. If you see some teams getting a little bit separated, please remind them. If it's flagrant, please let one of us know right away. Thank you. Teams must check in and out together at every TA. That means all team members together. We want to see you at the transition area. So this is to be fair, and it's also for safety reasons, just to make sure everybody is together. So I don't want one person coming up and the rest of the team is already off in the transition area. Just swing through, check in so that we can see all of you, and then you can go in and transition. That said, we will be doing transitions, checking in and out. So we're going to time in and out so you'll know your transition times. So if you're coming in off the bike and you're going to be switching to land nav, you'll check in with us as you come in off the bike, you transition, now you're heading out on the land nav, you'll check out of that TA. So always checking in and checking back out as a group. The one exception to that will be on the paddle. So when you are paddling, I'm expecting it's going to take a little bit of time to maybe get the boats adjusted, foot pegs, that kind of thing. And so once you're in the boats and you're ready to go, just one person needs to come back and check out. And we'll be close enough to see all of you folks. So check out and then head on your way. In terms of the TAs, we will have orienteering flags. I should probably show you what you all are looking for here. So we'll have orienteering flags hanging at the TAs so that you can find us. There's nothing to punch with regard to this, or nothing to do. It's just to help you find us. Let's see, I think that is it for checking in, checking out. Well, let's talk about the CPs. So again, you're looking for flags like this, and on each one is a control unit like this for electronic punching, and I'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. But the control here has a number on it, and this number is also in your instructions. So let's say you're looking for CP1. CP1 has a code of 74. So when you get to a flag and you're looking for CP1, you want to make sure, yes, it's 74 or whatever number it is, to confirm that you're at the right spot. Remember that there are several other races, or 2 other races going on in addition to yours, and there are going to be other CPs out in the world. If you stumble across one, don't just punch it. Make sure that you know where you are and you're punching the proper control. In addition, you might see controls for a past leg of your race or a future leg of your race. You can only punch the controls for the leg that you're currently on. So this is a little bit different than, say, if you did Stubborn Fool in April. We had kind of a wide open course. It was choose your own adventure. You could do whatever you wanted in whatever order over the 6 hours. This race is more scripted. So leg 1, you'll complete that, then move on to leg 2. Once you moved on to leg 2, you can't go back and get CPs from leg 1. So you have to complete in order for the most part. There might be an instruction or 2 where you are allowed to switch things up a little bit, and that will be very clear in your race instructions, but overall it's in order. Now, that said, within a leg, you might have 5 CPs. You can get those in any order. So we're not dictating you have to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 within the leg. You can do those in whatever order makes sense for you. Let's see, private property. So your topo race maps will have private property and some off-limits areas marked. We are also providing some trail maps, and I have not marked the private property on those. So, like the ski trails at Asheville Bay, for example, that does not have the private property marked. So make sure that you're consulting the topo maps that have private property marked as you are navigating, so that you don't accidentally cross into private property or an off-limits area. So there's an off-limits area that you need to be cautious of around HQ as well, a couple of them actually. There is also a portion of the property where bikes are not allowed at all, and that is marked on your maps with a red line. So just be aware that that's there. Make sure you look for that in the morning and understand where that is. And again, that's not marked on the trail maps, only on the topo maps. So keep in mind knowing where you are and not crossing into those boundaries. About the paddle. So the guides on the water are there for safety only. They are not part of our volunteer crew. They don't know anything about the course. They are just there to manage your safety during the paddle. So if you can't find a CP, they're not going to be able to help you. They're just there for safety reasons. They will serve as crossing guards near the marinas. I think that information's been explained pretty well in the kayak safety video. So if you have not watched that, please be sure to watch that as well. Be sure to follow their advice. If they ask you to hold in position, it's because there's a boat crossing, right? Maybe the ferry is coming in or out or something like that. So you need to be aware of that. And, I think we just need to be really patient on that portion, because we can't control everything about what's going to happen during that paddle. Keep in mind that it's really, really difficult to see a kayak from the boats, from the ferry. They're not going to be able to see you at all. So the guides are really there to help make sure that you all are safe. In addition, you might have an idea of exactly where you want to paddle, and the guides may advise you to move further from shore or closer to shore for safety reasons, and that will depend on the wind conditions and maybe what's rebounding off of the cliffs and that type of thing. So be aware of that. Please just do what they're asking you to do. You have a flag to signal for emergency, so that really is for an emergency. It's not to ask which way to go next or something like that. All right, and last thing about the paddle, just please be patient with all aspects of the race, but particularly the paddle. Our goal with this has been to give everyone a great experience and an opportunity to paddle in a very special place. Lake Superior is the largest freshwater lake by surface area. I think it's third largest by volume. And we just really want to get you out there and have the opportunity to paddle in this beautiful place. At least of this recording, the weather looks like it's going to cooperate and we're going to be able to do the paddle. There have been a ton of logistics around this aspect of the race, and in reality, it's only a small part of your day, but I think it's going to be a really neat part of the day. So be patient, take time to just enjoy the experience. And then last thing, kind of rule related before I get into the course flow, is consider a lock for your bikes. Every single race, 5, 12, and 30s will have an opportunity to get off the bike and do a little bit of navigation off the bike into the woods. And so if you're concerned about leaving your bike, please bring a lock for it. We can't be responsible for equipment, and we can't be everywhere to watch gear either. So bring your locks if you're concerned about that. All right, on to the flow for Saturday. So check-in. You can arrive earlier ahead of your check-in time to park your vehicle. For those first folks at the 30 hour, we ask that you not arrive before 4:30 though, because we're not going to be there, and we told Asheville Bay we wouldn't be on the property until then. We should be able to set up pretty quickly and start getting you all checked in at 4:45. So for that first group, arrive no more than 15 minutes ahead of your wave. That should give you plenty of time to get unloaded and then head up. Once you arrive, get set, and then please don't try to check in before your check-in time. So come on up at the beginning of your check-in window. Team captains only need to come up, or one member of the team. Bring all the waivers. So you have 2 waivers per person. Make sure they're signed, filled out completely, and that the team number is written in the upper right-hand corner. Once you come up to swap the waivers for your stuff, there'll be a drop box. So we'll have you just show, yep, we have this many waivers. We're a 3-person team. We have 6 waivers. They go in the box. And then you'll get a goodie bag, which has your t-shirts in it, some other swag. And then your race packet, which has your race instructions, dinner tickets. There's a list in the race instructions of everything that should be in that packet. So make sure you open that up and verify that everything is in there, including your bib numbers and pins. So be a little bit careful opening that up so your pins don't go flying everywhere. And then last thing that you'll be grabbing is a rolled up map for the 12s and the 5 hours. And for the 30s, there are 3 maps all rolled together. We will not have waivers on hand, so remember to bring those. All right. Let's see. For questions, after you receive your race information, if you have questions, I'll be up in the check-in area. So if something comes up and you want to consult about it, please come on up and ask. One more thing related to check-in, sort of, I guess, is t-shirts. So if you registered in the last couple of weeks, it's likely that you may not have gotten the shirts if you ordered a men's large. So we ran out of those. We do have some in additional sizes, but I didn't want to just start guessing and stuffing the wrong size shirts in for all of you folks. So after the race, we'll have any remaining t-shirts out by the finisher awards, and those of you who didn't get a shirt can take one. If you want to swap sizes, ladies, I know the shirts tend to run a little small, at least in my opinion. So if yours doesn't fit and you want to swap, please feel free to do that after the race as well. All right, so what about the race start? Let's talk a little bit about the controls. So I showed you the control and we talked a little bit about the unit on top, but let's talk about how that actually works. So you'll have a finger stick in your e-punch finger stick in your race packet. It has a nice wrist strap on it so that you can tighten that down and then slip it over your finger, so that shouldn't go flying off anywhere. Don't lose it. They're about $40 to $50 to replace depending on the style you have, so be cautious about that, please. So that's how that attaches. What happens is that as you go through the course, you will dip this into the control and it'll record on here where you were and when. So I was at control 74 at 10 o'clock. In order for this all to work, we have to do a few things at the start to get things set up. So the first thing is to clear. So we want to make sure that we clear all the information off the stick. Okay. So the clear, this will be available right at the start. And then the next thing that you'll do is actually start. So when you dip here, that's when your clock starts. So you want to check what time it is and know that you've got 5, 12, or 30 hours from that time to get back. So when I've been dipping, you've heard that beep. So it's just a simple pop it in, take it out, and away you go. Don't punch multiple times, especially on the controls. There's no need to do that. So once you get to a control, it's the same thing, just a quick dip. You can see the light and the beep. And then at the finish, we will have a finish control. So when you dip this one, that's when the clock stops. And now you're off the clock, but you're not done yet. There's still one more thing. We just need to download the data, and there's a reader for that, and that'll be at the volunteer table. So you can download results there, and then you'll return the stick to us. So there'll be a box for those. Don't come running up and just chuck the stick into the box. We need to download results first. Yeah, so that's that. It's a nice system. Our goal will be to get results pushed out to the web as soon as we can. We aren't doing a big awards banquet or anything like that. A couple of reasons for that. One of them being that we can't have a PA system running and loud cheering when a show's going on down at Big Top. So watch for results to be pushed out to the web as soon as we can. After you turn in your finger stick, there's a table of finisher, or will be a table of finisher awards and a crud cloth. So for those of you who raced with us in, I think, 2019, crud cloth was a sponsor. They are again this year. So we don't have showers at the finish line, but we do have crud cloths. So that's a good way to get all that adventure race grime off of your body before you start enjoying dinner, if you want to. Right at the finish line also, there'll be cold drinks. So we have a couple different beers on tap, and we'll also have a cooler of soft drinks. So help yourself to those when you finish. And then when you're ready, take your meal tickets down to the concession area, exchange the ticket for whatever meal you would like, and then please bring the meal back up to the tent or to your transition area, wherever you would like to eat. We kind of want to try not to take up all the space down by Big Top because they've got a big show, and we're a little bit worried about the space there. So we want to make sure we're back up in our own space. think that is it for that. Let's talk about the course. So 5-hour course, 18 CPs, 12-hour course, 39 CPs, and the 30-hour course, 57 CPs. So 5 and 12 hours, there is, I'm almost certain, more course and maybe well more course than what you'll be able to get in your 5 hours or 12 hours. I set extra because I was a little bit worried about what could happen with the paddle, especially later in the day. Weather looks good, so I don't think it's going to be an issue, but we still need to get that course stuff out there for you. So what that means is that you will be able to kind of pick and choose how long you spend in some of the different parts of the course. So if you really like the land nav, there'll be plenty of that. If you like spending a little more time on the bike, I think there'll be plenty of that as well. So I think I mentioned this already, but within a leg, you can get the CPs in any order that you want, but you must complete the legs in order unless otherwise indicated. So if we say you're gonna bike and then nav and then paddle, do the bike, do the nav, do the paddle, you can't jump around, okay? All right, let's talk about maps. Some of the areas on the aerial map, so you'll have an aerial map, might look like this big, beautiful open field that you can just run through. And I thought that when I was scouting, I'm like, this is gonna be great. And then I got there and it was, 10, 12 foot spindly trees all packed together, and there was no getting through there easily. So just be aware of that when you're looking at the aerial photo. It might look like a field, it probably isn't. With the exception of the area around HQ, that is ski hill, so it is nice and open, and you can see that right from HQ. The large topo map that you're getting, so the 24 by 36 or 36s for those of you in the 30 hour, is a merge of several USGS quads, and so they're chosen because they give you the best visibility of the topo lines, depression tick marks. But what that means is that I pieced those together, so you may see a seam where those maps come together, like a fine line. And I worried a little bit that some folks could think that was a road, but it runs just straight through the entire map. So be aware of that. It's not a road. If you're looking at the map and have a question, please ask about that. In addition, there are some roads and trails that I've added in, but I haven't been able to add in absolutely everything. So for the land nav sections, I think it's pretty good. With regard to the bike, you're going to see logging roads and all kinds of stuff on the sides of kind of the main path that you're taking. So be sure to use distance, measure, don't think, oh, I'm taking my third right. So use your odometer and use your distance, and of course use the topography as well. CP labels on the map are not consistently above the circle or to the right of the circle. I've put the labels in a location so that it's not obscuring what I think is probably the part of the map that you're going to want to see. So just be aware of that. It's the number closest to the circle, but it's not always in the same position, so that might feel a little bit awkward to some of you, or don't let that throw you off. Some of the maps that you're going to receive are a zoomed in version of that large topo. So for the navigation, I've zoomed those in. There's no more detail on it, but it'll be easier for those of you with older eyes like me to see. Don't just take that smaller zoomed in map and leave everything else behind, because if you walk off the edge of that map, it will be more difficult to recover if you don't have the surrounding area on your other map. And that's also true with the big topo maps. Some of the CPs are pushed out kind of to the boundaries of that. And so you have a county bike map that will be helpful if you happen to get off the map to navigate your way back if you need to. And then another reminder to give the big top area a wide berth. And I'm just going to share my screen and give you a little preview of tiny snippets of map to talk a little bit more about that. Just a very tiny look at the maps here, little snippets of the topo map and also the aerial photo that some of you will be using. So for those of you who haven't adventure raced before, I'm just going to talk through symbols real quickly. Triangle is usually the beginning or end of a particular section or leg. Headquarters, race HQ, is the start and end of many different legs. A waypoint is just locating an area or signifying a location that has some information I want to communicate to you, and I'll come back to that in a second. And then we've got some blue markers. These are related to the single track mountain biking, so CAMBA, Chequamegon Area Mountain Bike Association, there's a trailhead near HQ, so that's what that is signifying. And they also have, you know, kind of those "you are here" type signs with letters on them, like letters and numbers, so like A1, A2. So I've put a few of those on the map so that you can match things up and orient yourself a bit. In addition, some of these trails are GPSed in by me, so we placed some trails onto the map that didn't already exist. They are not perfect, so, you know, be a little bit cautious if you are kind of heading into this re-entrant or something. If you measured, I need to go exactly 100 meters, it might be a little bit more, a little bit less, because this placement isn't perfect. It's not an orienteering map. So what I wanted to talk about was related to the Big Top area. There are a couple trails that kind of land you right into the tent, and that makes sense in the winter because the tent's not there, but in the summer, these trails aren't super convenient and we won't be using them because they go into that out of bounds area, but there's a ski trail and a snowshoe trail here. The reason for Waypoint 1 is that if you want to access the trail system, one way to do that would be to just head straight up the hill from HQ, kind of through the parking area and then up the top of the hill. There's some 2-track there for you to quickly access that. So I thought that would be helpful for you all to see. You could also head over to the trailhead and come in that way. That's perfectly fine. An aerial view of that. So the 2-track kind of runs through here. It's not visible on here, but it is there, and so that waypoint would be up in this area as well. So that is out of bounds stuff. A little bit of a talk about the maps. Last thing I wanted to share is that if you get to a location where there should be a CP, and I'm going to point here, but this isn't the CP that has a flag, and you don't see the flag, do a quick scout around about 30 meters outside of, radius of where the CP should be. If it's not there, move on. I don't think we're going to have any issue with things disappearing, but I figure we should at least share with you what you should do if that happens. So in the case that a CP isn't there, do a look for it. Make sure you're, of course, in the right spot, right? Look for it and then move on. Let us know when you get to the next TA that a CP is missing. So don't hunt around. If you find it and it's been misplaced, meaning more than 30 meters away from where it is supposed to be, and supposed to be means where we plotted it on the map or the UTM that we gave you, not where you plotted it based on the UTM, but where the actual UTM is. If it is further than that away, we're not going to give credit for those who, maybe stumbled upon it by accident. So just move on. We're not going to punish somebody for not finding an incorrectly placed CP, and likewise not reward folks for finding one that is misplaced. So I don't think it's going to happen, but I want to have a plan in place if it does. One more thing, if your finger stick doesn't work for some reason or you lose it, when you get to the CPs, there are on many of the flags a code written right on the flag, like a 2-digit or letter code. And so to prove that you are at the control, you could report that back. So write that down if you get to a CP and your stick's not working or you've lost it. If the control does not have a code written on the flag, if you look at the underside of the control unit, so the e-punch unit, there is a 6-digit number on those. And so that would be another thing you could report back to prove that you actually were there if something were to happen with the finger sticks. All right, I think that is everything. Looking forward to seeing you on Saturday. Last race day tip, arrive race ready. Check in at the beginning of your check-in window so that you can maximize your planning time. We'll see you on Saturday. Remember those waivers.